This is the most famous James Bond scene of all time.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. There is nothing you can talk to me about that I don't already know.
And today I decided to recreate this scene in Lego, and it honestly turned out really cool looking. Well, it is one of the sort of smaller MOCs I made, you know, it's not a massive MOC. I tried to cram as many details from the movie as I could into this small diorama sort of MOC, and it honestly turned out just super cool looking, especially to a giant James Bond fan like me who's watched all the movies. It's just such a famous scene, and I'm really happy how it turned out, so today I'm just gonna be showing you guys it. Now, obviously, when making a James Bond MOC, you need to make some James Bond minifigures to go along with it. So I made 3 minifigs to go along with this scene, and they're all also just as cool as a MOC. First minifig up is Sean Connery as James Bond, and obviously he's in his spy gear. As he's in his spy gear in the scene, you know, he's not in a tuxedo. He's got a pretty stern expression as well as a pretty good hairpiece for him, and overall I do think this looks a fair amount like the Sean Connery. Like if you look at Sean Connery in that scene and then you look at this minifig, I think it did a pretty good job. I also decided to make a Goldfinger to go along with this MOC, so he's got some pretty cool, some pant printing as well as a nice little coat that's actually Dwight Schrute's coat. He's got a pretty stern expression and some cool hair, and this also looks just a lot like the actual Goldfinger. I'm really happy how the Goldfinger, you know, turned out. There's also a lab behind the laser table that has some lab people, you know, operating the laser, so I decided to make a sort of scientist to operate the laser. He uses a Michael Scott hairpiece and has a pretty, you know, bored expression, so overall not too much going on with this figure, but it's a nice background figure to operate the lab behind them. And overall I'm just really happy with the 3 custom figures that, you know, I built for this MOC. They're all pretty accurate to the actual scene, and I'm just really happy with how they look. They fit in the scene very well. Here's a completed MOC with the minifigs in place, and honestly, I'm really happy with how it looks. You know, like if you look at the scene from the movie and look at pictures or videos of that, and then you look at this, it's just really accurate, and it's just pretty instantly recognizable as the Goldfinger scene from James Bond. Like, it's a pretty recognizable scene, I think. I decided to build the entire MOC on this really nice looking all black base that I sort of made. So sort of like a stand. It's the same sort of stand I made with the Star Wars MOC about a month ago, and it just makes it look a lot more professional. It sort of elevates it up off the ground a little bit, and it just looks really nice. Of course, they needed to put Bond on the table sort of in the middle of the room there, and it was pretty hard to tell, you know, what color the sort of things in the room were, but it looked whitish to me, so I kind of built, you know, the white table that he lays on. And obviously in the scene before the laser almost slices through Bond, it slices through a ton of actual gold first, so I put a gold piece there to sort of represent that, and I just think it looks cool with the laser sort of slicing through the gold there, just like in the scene. I ended up using one of the spring-loaded shooter missiles as the giant laser that cuts through it, and I think it does a pretty good job of, you know, looking like a pretty long laser. I also noticed that the laser had these sort of blue glowy things, so I added those into the MOC, and it does add, you know, a nice little pop of color onto what would otherwise be a sort of boring arm. And this thing does have a fair amount of flexibility, so, you know, you can move it around, or you can, as Goldfinger says,
it can project a spot on the moon, or at closer range, cut through solid metal.
Majority of the floor of the MOC is actually tiled off with this tan color, which does make it look pretty nice, except for the part that Goldfinger is standing on, where I did, you know, leave some extra studs. This way there's just plenty of room for you to take Goldfinger and stand him at different spots around the table, or have other people watching Bond get sawn in half. As mentioned before, a big part of this scene is actually the lab behind them, and so I decided to make a little lab behind there where we have some computers and stuff, and that definitely looks cool just sort of behind the table. I had a few little steps to get up inside the laboratory, and obviously the door can swing open, and also just in that corner there's a couple more details with some lights above there and just some more detailing, you know, on the wall of the corner just to spice it up a little bit. But inside we have a seat with a guy and a bunch of control panels, so that's what's going on in the scene. And so I just filled it up with a bunch of control panels and computers, and I was even able to sneak in a little Batman reference in there, which was pretty cool. So overall not a ton going on in the lab here, just a bunch of control panels, a seat for the dude, and a window to look over the laser table, so it turned out pretty cool. But that is my James Bond laser table MOC, and honestly it's one of my favorite, you know, little MOCs that I've made recently, especially when you look at the scene and actually watch the scene and then look at this MOC. I just think I did a pretty good job of capturing it. Let me know what you guys think of this pretty cool James Bond MOC in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. The Seabird Productions sign off for now. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like to update with my latest content here, as well as helping me at 500 subscribers, which we're only 17 away from, so we're so close, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!